Airline stocks taking a hit as the Justice Department probes airlines on collusion. You can see the losses here. They were already way down so far this year, and again, hit even harder. Travel expert Lee Abamonte says airlines are working together to screw us, but Dave Maney says it's far from collusion. Dave, to you first. Why isn't this collusion? Is it just good business?
Well, look, I think all businessmen have to look at the market environment that they work in and gather as much information as they can. It so happens that the airline industry is one of the places where it is easiest to see, where there is the most publicly available information via every website, via Orbit. You know what your competitors' policies are. You know what their route schedule is. You know everything about them. So reacting to it becomes actually relatively simple as compared to other less publicly available information industries. So it's easy to say, well, gee, it looks like they're acting in concert, when in fact what they're doing is reacting to great gobs of publicly available information and making rational business decisions about it.
Lee, it looks like the Justice Department is concerned about these airlines cutting back on their growth plans, their plans to add capacity, even though capacity will be up in the third quarter, about 5.5%. But wouldn't the Justice Department have to have knowledge that they were communicating with one another to prove collusion?
Well, I'm not a lawyer, but I know that collusion is difficult to prove, so it's an interesting charge, but I think it would be kind of hard to believe that the airlines weren't talking to each other, especially when you look at the prices of different flights. And when one airline does one thing, the other one is so quick to match. I just don't understand, if they're competing, why they wouldn't try to beat each other's prices, especially with the price of oil being down over 30% this year.
Well, Lee, to that point, they don't have to, because the planes are almost completely full. You've got a record number of people flying on airlines this summer. They don't need to cut prices because they don't need to fill all these seats.
That's because
that's a ridiculous construct, Lee. Lee, you can see every airline can immediately know exactly what the next airline is charging for a flight. They've got web spiders crawling that price data constantly. They've got entire departments of mathematicians devoted to pricing algorithms. They know what's going on. To suggest that they're talking to each other, a blatantly, against the law offense, that's ridiculous.
Lee?
So why can't the airlines add more flights so there's like more seats available, prices can go down? Why can't people have more choices? With all these mergers, there's only a couple airlines. You're going to have like what you have in Canada, where Air Canada rules everything and the prices are enormous.
I'll respond to that, because the airlines are a business. It's not run by the government like Amtrak, and they're in the business of making money. American right isn't cheap flights, even though it's annoying to fly, but the airlines are not in the business of making sure that everybody can get to where they're going at the cheapest price possible. They got to get to where they're going safely, and they do that.
Of course, I understand that they're a business, but at the same time,
hold on. Let Lee respond real quick, and I'll give you the final word, Dave.
Of course they're a business, I understand that, but at the same time, they also have a greater responsibility, and that's why the government is stepping in, because they're afraid of collusion. They're afraid that the public, the flying public, people like myself and you and others, are getting screwed by the airlines, and it's been like this for years, and there's nothing that consumers can do about it. That's why the government is looking into this.
Dave, final word.
It's the most political Justice Department in the history of the United States, in an administration that is not at all economically sophisticated. And to imagine that this Justice Department comes in purely on the basis of data, as opposed to on the basis of what looks good politically for a Democratic administration, is rather naive.
That's right. You let them merge because they're struggling financially, and then you start investigating them. There you go. That makes sense in this world. Lee Abamonte and Dave Maney, good to see you both. Have a great holiday.